what everybody else got to say. If you constantly got your eyes on what everybody else doing, you ain't getting no money. When it comes down to closing a deal, I get it done. Every single one. I'm the certified deal closer.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Coinology. And I am here with none other than the king, Mr. Leo Sullivan. Give it up for Leo, y'all. Hey, yeah. Okay, so I'm hyped, y'all, because I didn't think this interview was going to happen. I talked to Jasmine, my assistant, the other day. She said, I called and I confirmed Leo's coming. I said, he ain't coming. And then I checked again this morning. I said, because this man is so busy.
Yeah, I have multiple hats.
Busy.
But I compliment you because you are so persistent.
I was like, Leo ain't coming. He ain't coming. Then when they said, I went to check. I walked past her office. I said, Leo coming? She said, I just talked to him. He confirmed he's going to be here. I said, okay, all right, cool. So Leo's here, y'all. Let's see, Leo's here.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure for you having me.
I'm glad because you know what? I used to rep you. So I know you don't like doing interviews.
Yeah.
And
it's actually the first interview.
Since then, right?
Yeah, I've been doing any interviews since
You
then.
don't like doing interviews. And I used to always tell Leo, man, your story is so amazing. It's a testimony to change lives. And you needed to do interviews, but you were so humble. And you also had your head down to doing the work. But I am so honored that you chose to be here because I know since then so much has happened in your life. Right?
Yes.
So I want to talk about that, but I want to first, before we start talking about all the things that have happened since you and I have worked together,
right.
I want people to know why I'm so excited about having Leo Sullivan here. For those who don't know, Leo Sullivan is probably one of the top rated of all time African-American publishers for urban literature that has ever existed, right? He's also a filmmaker, film creator, producer, director. He's an author himself. Yes. He's also a business mogul, so he owns multiple businesses, one being one of the top nightclubs here in the city of Atlanta, well, in the outskirts of Atlanta, the Bermuda Bar.
Bermuda Bar.
Right. Did I miss anything else?
You know what? I have to take these off.
Okay.
So I really, this new era, there was a time I used to pride myself and like to talk about business ventures and stuff like that. Not anymore.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you put your business out there and it just doesn't, people don't have your best interests at heart.
That's right.
But I will say this, I'm a very successful entrepreneur. I have business ventures in real estate. I have a trucking company and a few other projects. But what always holds dear to me was writing and how I came about, the craft of writing. And I think you may have a lot of talents, but God may only give you one blessing or one great talent. And sometimes if we hone in on that, I think we'll find the true essence of us and what our intentions were to be on this planet. And so writing actually, no matter how successful I am in anything else, I probably would. Writing and creating is my best passion, my number one passion, and it's not all about money.
You would do it with no money.
It's cathartic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. So let's talk a little bit about that, Leo. Who is Leo? So Leo, where are you from?
I'm from the south side of Chicago.
When I think about Leo, have you seen BMF?
Yeah, I love BMF. That's the only show I binge watched.
But I love BMF. But when I see Little Meech up there, Little Meech for some reason reminds me of you.
Oh wow!
Has anybody ever told you that before?
Yeah,
it's something about his swag or something. Like that's Leo. Yeah. So you from South Side of?
I'm South Side of Chicago, 47th Street.
Okay.
I went to high school there. I'm the only child.
Okay.
My mother passed away when I was incarcerated.
Okay.
But that place is really dear to me as well because it's the epitome of struggle. You come from a very impoverished background, either it'll make you or break you. You know?
And so it was just you and your mom.
Yeah, I'm the
you
only
and your
child.
mom, the only
Yeah.
child. And then, so your father was not around?
No.
Okay. And so as a kid, were you good in school? Did you listen to your mom? What was your childhood like?
My mother, God bless her, she had a substance abuse, so she was addicted to heroin. So growing up was extremely challenging. But what people don't understand is, like, especially with black women, you may not have a lot of food, you may not have the greatest necessities, but black women have an abundance of love. And so no matter what her challenges were, she was able to nurture me. I was thinking about today, I was like, I was messed up because I didn't have a dad, and Chicago was riddled with gangs, and I was a gang member, and I was involved in, street life.
So don't slide over that. So a lot of people don't understand that the reason why people join gangs many times is because it's a family.
It's a family. It was
feel
dear
like
to this day. It's
still dear? So did you feel like they were like your dad, your brothers?
They felt like that it was a fraternity of love that I couldn't get, and then we were locked out because Chicago, like a lot of urban places, is structural where it's systematic poverty, it's systematic oppression, and we just didn't have like the YMCA's and the places where children could traditionally go and let off steam. In our community, it just wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So me being a part of that fraternity was like my family, my brothers,
But how did you know you wanted to join the gang? How did you know that? Like,
Actually,
what goes on in a young black man's mind when he's young? Because, you have all these right-wing politicians that want to condemn.
And they frustrate me.
They don't understand, right?
They don't understand.
What's going on? What was in your mind, Leo, that made you say, I need to do this?
Because there were so many people who looked like me were in dear situations, but one thing bonded us and it cemented us. It was the mere fact that we didn't have a lot, and so that brought unity within us. Like, I had milk, he had cereal. I got some cereal, you got some milk, And so a lot of people haven't experienced that, what I'm talking about, or just the fact that there's domestic violence going in my house. There's probably someone who's a drug addict, and I need to get away from that. And this is my brother, and he's dealing with the same issues. Or just the rink of poverty itself sometimes has the ability to bond people because they have certain common likes and certain common.
So it wasn't about the violence that connected you; it was the brotherhood.
Yeah, the violence came later on, and that's a whole nother topic, because I just want to say this, and like, no, I'm long-winded. The violence that is occurring in Chicago, and you have to hear me out, because this is a whole nother story. The deaths you see, like, daily, this looks like genocide, but it's being perpetuated by white America.
Now, so I'm gonna stop you there because
I can explain it.
I want you to explain it because I'm really big on us taking responsibility for our actions.
And I'm big on it too.
So talk to me. How is us killing one another?
And once I explain it,
okay, let's talk about it.
Someone listen to this and they remember this. So I'm gonna use something. So in Iraq, so what they do in Iraq, they get all the generals and the high-ranking officials. They lock them up because they know that's going to cause mayhem, destruction, and a complete debacle of the system, the structure of it. But the only difference is, after they destroy, they kill all the generals and the majors and stuff like that. Then they come in and they restructure everything. So back in the day in Chicago, when I was a part of that, we had organizations, and it was like pharaohs and bishops and people who had structure. So if you shot up somebody's house, you were gonna get violated. Like, it was none of that. Like it is now. It was not happening. Period. And so what they did, they systematically came in Chicago. They locked up all the head of the gangs, and it created such mayhem, death, and destruction. And they just sit back and watch.
And from what I hear, Leo,
so we killing each other right now, but that was their intent.
Well, I always have heard that if they had not locked up the head of the gangs,
that's what it is. Yeah,
it would not have, because they said that gangs weren't created for what it is. So what was the purpose of gangs? Talk to us about that. Was it created for criminal activity?
It wasn't, but like I say, the purpose of gangs or organizations of such is because poverty, like despair, not having access to certain things. I mean, there's a study that says people who go to prison, and 70% of people who go to prison and they get education, they don't go back. But 70% of people who don't, they go back. Within 18 months, they go back. So tell me, if we know that these people are going to come home and be detrimental to our communities, why don't we invest in them so when they come home, they be better? Because we can invest in rushing them or whatever's going over there right now. They send billions of dollars over there for them for that war that's going on.
But let me ask you this, though, Leo. You have to want it. We're going to talk about that, too. Because you can invest in a lot of people. I'm sure you got people coming to you all the time saying, let me get this, let me get that, let me get this, let me get that. You can invest in a lot of people, but they don't want it.
If they don't want it. But at least try it. But at least try it. It's never been done.
But you throwing out money like that, though, Leo?
No, the government is throwing out money like that. They'll do it to a foreign country, but what about your house?
But what about us, right?
What about us?
Yeah,
let's
what
not
about
negate
us?
that, because it's so important that you take our tax money and you give it overseas, you give it to those other countries that are fighting with each other. You try to save them, but here at home, perpetually for decades, centuries, we've been destroying and killing each other, and it's like throwing a rock and hiding the hand. Now, do I hold ourselves accountable for that? I hold ourselves 100% accountable for the killings and the violence, and in no way do I say that's right. But I do know that this was. They're not going to educate us. No one's going to say this.
But there's a part
this
of it
is planned.
too. Right. So let's talk about that. So Leo, so you were how old when you joined the gang?
13.
13. And then when did you start having some bouts with the law? What age?
13.
13, right away. And so when were you incarcerated? How many times? I guess you probably were arrested multiple times before you went away, right?
I was arrested a lot of times. So, but
and none of those times you ever said, "Let me stop." That's not even. I want people to think about this, because as a kid, the way you process trauma is different, right?
Yeah, I think with me it would have been let me stop if I had came home to something that was.
You had nothing to come home to.
Right. Once you come home, it's like, man, I remember, and I told this to my son yesterday, because he has a life that he doesn't need for anything. You know you got children, you know how it is.
I know. And I always tell my kids, I'm like, y'all couldn't survive.
Right, you couldn't survive there.
You couldn't survive, right.
He won't even put money in his pocket, because I was like, man, somebody had gave me, like, I give you money, you don't even take it with you, because you're just
sitting it down, you don't even value.
You have no value for that. But with me, it was like coming home, and I remember putting cardboard in my shoes in the wintertime because I had holes in them. I remember going in the stores stealing coats for myself just to keep me warm. You know what I'm saying?
So it wasn't like I just want to do this. It was you had to do this for survival.
It was a real life necessity. And what irks me is the fact that a lot of times we become successful, and then we adopt this nonchalant attitude, or this whole theme about if I can do it, anybody can do it. But I know guys who were 7 years old and had a 3-year-old brother, and their mother was strung out on drugs, and at 7 years old, he was going to the store to steal for him and his 3-year-old brother. Yeah,
and he had it because he did not want his 3-year-old brother crying himself to sleep hungry.
And so he had to be a man, and people so it is a such thing. And I'm just gonna say this: they say it's a myth. And I'll argue that, but it is a such thing as being a product of your environment. Now you can break that, but some people are like, nah, that's a myth. Is you can, but the same token, everybody, once you become a part of a culture, you have to get help, or you have to help yourself. So it's just certain circumstances are different.
Product of your environment doesn't have to be negative. So you and I both are products of our environment. We just so happen to go in a different way. And we are still making sure that people understand the environment. But we also are giving light to the folks that are back at home where each one of us came from, that said, guess what? There's an opportunity. It doesn't stop here. And your story continues. So you're 13. When did you get that mass incarceration where it was boom for a long period?
So at 13, at 14, I just was telling this to somebody today. I got charged with the burglary of a laundromat. So me and my friends, we broke into a laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
I left my ID in the laundromat.
Ooh.
So,
You did one of those things like these little kids in Linux. These little kids out in Linux doing stuff like that.
that just shows you we really not. You
Yeah.
know, it's a crime of opportunity, just because But I don't negate the fact, and I know I'm being redundant with that word. I don't deny the fact that it makes it right. It doesn't make it right if you commit a crime. You can't make up an excuse and say I committed a crime because I was hungry and stuff like that, and my mom wasn't there and I was taking care of myself at 13 years old. But it sure was an impetus for, your stomach growling and just being a part of the environment. But so I got in trouble then, but this police told me something. And I was telling my girl this. I was like, it's amazing the things that we retain and what we won't retain. And for all my life, I never forgot this. And he said, I came home, mother was crying. I was like, Mom, what you crying for? She shut the door. The detectives were standing right there. And I was like, God. So they took me to jail. But in the car, he said, the reason why I don't commit crimes is because, or I don't do anything because every morning I can wake up and I don't have to worry about, and that I don't have to worry about somebody waking me up. I have to worry about my conscience. I have to worry about being, incarcerated or in jail or being, accused of something. And so
that's a big
that
deal. So
stays with me today, today.
Because that means you at 13, 14 stressed. Because every day you worried about is somebody coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Knocking at your door. Not only the other gangs that's out there, you worried about the cops, you worried about everything, right? At 13, 14, so you didn't have a childhood, Leo.
No, it was you have a good point there. If you really look at it, I didn't, but I still remember those moments, like a video in my head of those times where my mom, did what she could to overcome her situation. And I remember when I was 18, I was charged with homicide. I remember.
Now, when they brought the charges down on you, were you like, oh my God, this is it? Or did you think you were going to walk again?
No, I didn't know. I was at my girl's house and they knocked on the door. And so the police was coming up the stairs, and so I thought I was smart. I ran out the back door, which that's the oldest trick in the book. The police was right there waiting for me. But they never told me what they would. So they beat me all the way down to the police station. Because that's just how Chicago is. It's like we never knew that thing about pull over and show this and you can't stop with that just never existed. So they got me to the police station. They beat me up. I was there. They never told me what it was for. Then eventually the cop came in and said, "There's somebody, my partner in the next room, had said that I was associated with murder." And so it was like 9 months in jail just trying to beat that. So I was found innocent of it.
You were found innocent.
They dropped the charges eventually because they.
And so then did you have a long stint in prison though, right?
So some years later, I ended up serving about 15 years in federal prison.
That's no joke. And that's where, while you were locked up, that's where you really learned your creative passion, right?
Yeah.
How did you find out that you could write, that you had this gift?
Because it's the best feeling.
But how did you find out? How did you start?
We were in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. Atlanta Federal Penitentiary used to be the worstest prison
in the
United States.
I heard Atlanta is no joke.
So they would kill the guards. They would kill, I walked in the laundry, find dudes. I was sitting down one day, somebody grabbed me and was holding me, and somebody was spraying me with something. And I couldn't get loose, and come to find out this guy was stabbing this guy, and the guy was getting stabbed, was holding me. And so while I was incarcerated, I just knew I wasn't going to come home. I just knew I was going to die or kill somebody. It was no doubt in my mind. But I went to prison, and while I was in prison, my love for reading and writing was I just liked to write poetry and stuff like that. And then I was influenced by my mentor. God bless you, he's home right now. It's Tupac's dad. His name Matul Shakur. He just came home after serving 37 years in prison.
Black Panther, right?
Black Panther.
And he was in prison with you.
He was in,
so he took a liking to you.
That's what did it. He did it. I owe him. I made sure he's straight. Even to this day, this next week I'm flying to California to visit him. He has cancer, and he's only. They say, but he's gonna make it. He has like 90 days or something like that. But he was instrumental in my development in terms of me writing, in terms of me bringing in all the scholars in Georgia State, Dr. Coolidge, a lot of professors and stuff would come into the prison to speak, because when he was out, they did stuff, but they did it the free, like case in point, like they would have feed the homeless, feed the breakfast for the children in the morning. You know what I'm talking about? Because at that particular time, we were just so oppressed. That's when they were sticking dogs on people and didn't want you to go to school because you were, just racial profiling. But we didn't have cameras then, so the news only said it was a shootout with a black man and he got killed. But actually, the black man was, so he did so much stuff. But what he did to me, he would make me write essays on the side of Shakur, on just black liberation stuff, and open my eyes into our struggle, our plight as a people. And I remember one day I was in the hospital up top on the 4th floor, and they had opened the doors for us to go eat. And I saw a massive exodus of black people, and the tears just ran down my face, because I was like, we only 6% of the population, but we making up like 90-something, of this incarceration.
So did he ever tell you, what was it about you that made him say, let me take Leo under my wing? Did he ever share that with you?
To this day, I don't know.
I think when you go visit him in California,
to this day, I don't
you
know.
need to find out why, because you got to think about all of the other people that were there.
Yeah.
And it was something about you.
Yeah.
And he invested in you.
He did.
Because investing isn't about just money. We was talking about that earlier. He invested
he
his
took time out.
energy.
He educated me. He set me down. He taught me stuff. He made me read books. And I just became so conscious, and I would think about Pac under his influence. And I was like, and the things that he would do were just, I hate to say this, but because I would put no man, was like a demigod. Like, the things that he would do, the inspiration, he would inspire people and motivate people and just bring, galvanize us when he came into the prison. It was just so phenomenal.
Well, you got to think about it. Somebody to birth or to be a part of something like Tupac.
Right.
Like, Tupac is like when I think about Michael Jackson, you're not going to ever see another Michael Jackson in his lifetime, right?
Right?
I don't think you're going to ever see another Tupac. You will see another Beyonce. Okay,
right.
Don't get me wrong. I know the Beehive going to come at me, okay? But I am serious. You can see another Beyonce eventually. But Michael Jackson?
No.
Prince?
Yeah.
Tupac? Yeah. It's just certain ones.
I have to say Michael Jordan, too.
Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, and I will be even remiss to say Leo Sullivan. I think you're just so humble about it. You're not going to see too many more Leo Sullivans out there. You can see other writers, other publishers, other filmmakers, but Leo. So let's keep talking. So you began to write. How did you know that you can monetize your writing? Like, because I know, from my understanding, because I used to rep you, you started selling your work before you even left prison.
Yes. I was making a lot of money in prison.
In prison. So you were making, because that's what I'm saying, you were making, so when people use excuses, Leo, they're at home now talking about blah, blah. You were in prison making bank. Yeah. How did you know to do that? What happened?
Well, Ebony, if anybody knows this, you know this right here. When something is your passion and it's something you love, it may look like a job to somebody else, but actually it's your passion.
You love it. I love it. I tell Fonz this all the time. I walk around here, y'all, where's this? We got it, blah, blah, blah. But I go in my office and I'm fussing at Jasmine. But I love it. I love what I do. Every time Jasmine come around the office and to my door, I'm like, don't come around here if you're asking for some more money. All right, tell her she go to the door. If it's about money, don't come around. But then she and I bust out laughing because I love what I do. Right. I love it.
And that was me. But also a step further though, some of our brains, we are inclined to think more and take more chances and more risk Because prior to then, I had this lady send me a book on websites for dummies. And so before Steve Harvey and them had blew up, I was going to do this social dating thing. And so what I ended up doing, because back then they had...
That's right. You created the website for the guys in prison to meet the girls outside. That's right. I forgot about that.
And so I was making a lot of money off that. And I got in trouble with every prison in the United States had Just Us pen pals in it, for the most part. And it was very lucrative.
Wait a minute. So you were syndicated.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
It was really great.
So the prisons had to pay you.
Yeah, I was doing really well financially. But what ended up happening is I had a partner on the street, and you know how that goes. Once they stop making some money, they think they're rich, and so then they stop working, and then they just start using money for other extracurricular stuff, and then that was the debacle, and I almost lost my life because of that.
Really?
Guys prison dudes were sending hundreds of dollars for a service that couldn't be provided because she had just got lackadaisical. You know, I came on, she tried to reach out to me and stuff. I didn't say anything, I didn't berate her or anything like that, but I was really upset because we really dropped the ball. Now you look at these, you look at the culmination of all these other stuff, and it's like we were one of the, we had started back in
that was, I forgot about that. 90s. I think I remember you telling me that one time.
It was
before.
Really great. It was very lucrative, but and that's the sad thing about being an entrepreneur, or even in Coinology, is you realize in order to get the coins, you have to be disciplined and be patient and consistent because it just doesn't happen overnight. And then when it does happen, you have to have the common sense to be able to put money to the side and strategically invest your money or not spend it on a whim.
That's financial literacy, but you don't just... So the difference with that, though, Leo, someone had to teach you that, right? A lot of us don't have financial literacy.
Right.
So was that also your mentor that taught you about the financial literacy piece, or was that learned later?
Well, I don't know if I can agree with that, because I think what will teach you that
is being going broke, right? Yeah, going broke and saying I don't want to go broke again, right? Right, but think about how many people go broke and they continue to go broke.
Well,
they don't learn.
Because it's not meant for them.
It's not meant for them.
Once you succumb to that and you squander your money, which I've never did that.
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's something that taught you. So
poverty. That's what it is.
Poverty. So your point was, I don't ever want to go back to that again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Little cramped, not cars you like to drive, certain stuff, lifestyles, vacations, and it's not all materialistic things, but it's just things that you should, as a human being, you should be reward yourself with, for the trials and tribulations
of which you went through.
And being on this planet.
So you began selling books. Someone came in and showed you how to.
I actually, I signed with, I know what I'm finna say, but I signed with Vicky Stringer. She's over Triple Crown, so she was actually in college.
Did she find you, or how did you know to do this?
So I bought a book on soliciting your material and sending inquiries and stuff like that, and I would read that stuff, and so I would just back then that was Ebony Magazine. Remember Ebony Magazine?
Oh yeah. Ebony Magazine was the jump off. It still is.
Right, and so I was just reading all that. Anybody had a book out, and so I was massive, have 100 envelopes sent up, and then I would just send them out to all the publishers.
You were relentless.
Yeah.
It was like, Leo, you weren't going to stop.
No, I would hustle and get money with stamps. And see, in prison, commerce is stamps. So if you buy some food, or if I got some gym shoes, or if you smuggle something from in, I was like, man, I give you $200 worth of stamps for those stamps. But sometimes the stamps, if you get them to the street, they had people who could actually take those stamps and turn them into currency.
Let me ask you this: were you planning for your exit, or were you just were you even thinking about, I need to get my money up so when I come out, or were you just it was just something you had to do? You just passionate about it? Were you thinking about, what am I going to do once I leave here?
When I came home from prison, it was first off the night I was getting released, and I had been locked up for so long. I was I had to reorientate myself. I had to become accustomed to society, and so I'm in my cell. He cut the light off because I just broke down. I broke. My mother was dead. My mother had passed away.
So your mom passed while you were locked up.
That was my rock. And so
did they let you go to her funeral?
No, they wouldn't let me go to her
Oh my
funeral.
God.
And so I remember just breaking down the night they were gonna let me go. I did all those years in prison, and then I was coming home, and I had to go to a halfway house, and they made me do all my time there. And then I had the choice between getting my own place or living in a homeless shelter. The reason why I lived in a homeless shelter because the women who were attracted to me, I wasn't attracted to them, and I didn't want to do like my peers were doing when they were getting home. They were coming right back because they were moving with women and driving their cars and eating up their food.
Putting up the pressure on them.
And I saw so many guys coming back and seeing federal prison. I came home with 5 years probation, so if I had violated that, I would have to do another 5 years. And so I was asking guys, like, what are you back for? You just left. And he's like, man, she told me I was driving her car, or I moved without them. It was little stuff that they would violate you for. So it was no mistake.
So you were even strategic on your exit.
Yeah,
you were like, I'm not going back.
I'm not coming
So you went to live in a home. But this is the thing that people don't realize. You went to live in a homeless shelter, and you were already making 6 figures.
Yeah.
Was it 6 figures? Because you hadn't made your first million yet.
No, I hadn't made my first million then, but I was still doing really
well. And that was the thing. So you moved into a homeless shelter out of prison and making well over 6 figures.
Yeah, it was a purpose behind that though, because of my past crimes, they were trying to they didn't give me the regular probation officer. They gave me the probation officer that was like, where are you at right now? You got 15 minutes to get if you don't get here. And I'm like, well, man, I'm in school because I went to college when I got out. And so a pee in this cup right now, in type situation. But I got to go. No, we need you right now, or come visit me. I need you to come to my office. And he's like, leave your car. I'm like, what am I leaving my car for? Because your license is suspended. I was like, my license is suspended. Why you told me to come? That actually happened to me. And so he told me to leave my car, and I'm like, I'm not leaving I had a Mercedes.
Wait a minute, Mercedes while you were in a homeless shelter?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Leo, come on now. And
But
in the homeless shelter, rolling up in the Mercedes, right?
Yeah. I just didn't
Well, that's probably why
it was a structure.
But that's why the PO was on you. Yeah. He probably automatically assumed that you were back out there in the streets.
I wasn't, but I just didn't. If I had found a woman who I was actually attracted to, or somebody who was compatible, I would have, but I just didn't want to take the risk of moving in with somebody and it didn't work out, and then I get in trouble because even there I was situations with women that was challenging, that they tried to get me in trouble, and so I was like, you first come home, you're young, and so, but
because what they say, the wisest man's weakest is a woman.
That wasn't for me.
So you were able to maneuver around that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was good because some of the smartest men that we see out here, Leo, their downfall has been women. The wrong woman.
Then I get it. That's another subject.
That's a whole nother subject. Okay, so you're out of prison. You're doing very well for yourself. And then you move into your own place?
Yeah. I
eventually move into your own place.
I moved on college campus at Florida State University, which was incredible.
Okay.
I got my, to this day, what's interesting? I'm able to be successful after then, but just me having that small, quaint, one-room place, I think was the most triumphant, most happiest time of my life.
Well, you were free.
Yeah,
you could do what you want to do, right?
Yeah,
you were free.
Regardless of what happened now and then, I just remember that time. It's just because I remember thinking that, God, if you get me out of here, if I just had my own place and a computer and just rug, car, and it happened, I was like, just.
You know why that was better than even right now?
It's better than now.
Because now you have everybody pulling at you, expecting, wanting, judging, plotting.
Right.
Then it was No one knew.
So innocent.
You were innocent. No
right,
one knew.
There was no,
so you move on. You get your own place. You get on your feet. And then how do you end up becoming the king, the Leo Sullivan Publishing House? Like, if anybody was trying to get into, so it was just, I know, because I'm a believer.
God.
But, God also put something in us.
Yeah.
And you have to,
I'm very competitive, but I'm also a firm believer of like studying my competition.
Me too.
And then even more so, and this will get both of us in trouble, but it got me in trouble. Just treat people how you want to be treated.
That's right.
Just treat people and don't be about it for the money, because if you're in it for the money, it's not gonna work.
Treat people well.
Treat people well. And so what I done was, like, if I was getting a check, I try to disperse it and make sure all of us eat, because that's come from a game mentality.
That's what I was about to say.
That
It goes
came
back to
from
the
that
game.
mentality when I was in a part of that. It was like, that's how we came up. It was like, it's no at the table and I'm gonna eat steak and you over there eating hot dogs.
Because when you do that, you're creating an environment of hostility.
Right.
And you're asking for it.
They're gonna betray you.
Most definitely. So you became Leo Sullivan Presents, and then at the height of your career, how many authors did you have signed to you?
Over 100.
Yeah, right. It was at a point where
the biggest publishing company in the United States.
Biggest publishing company in the United States, right? Because you had over 100 authors, but then you had sub companies underneath you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it was like, if you think about it, it was sort of like a organized.
It was a hierarchy.
Okay, hierarchy, right?
I'll be right.
Yeah, but you had really changed the face of it. And what a lot of people didn't realize at that time, that it became, people will ask, how do you become so extremely wealthy publishing books? But you guys changed the game. You guys realized that there was a lot of money in ebooks, and that is when people began to make an unusual amount of money in that space of ebooks. Yeah. And Leo and his team just turned the world upside down for African American authors. You gave a lot of people opportunities that would not have gotten them from traditional publishing houses.
Yes, ma'am.
And being able to tell stories about people that most traditionalists did not want to hear.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that was something huge. But then something happened. What happened, Leo?
What my greatest nightmare happened, what I've always prepared people for, I always prepared everybody was close to me. I was like, just work is like every day is your first day. Just work like, because you never know. Like, I always said this, anybody know me, I always say this, you have to work like the day is your last day. Just be prepared, because a lot of people here, when I said a lot of people, they were here last year, not here this year. And I saw my predecessors, I saw people had succumbed to things that I think that were unfortunate, but it's because of not being economical, of not being respectful, of not, just being a businessman.
Not putting money up.
Putting money up.
Because you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
I always tried to invest my money back into my company. That's like the streets. I mean,
Listen, I always say this, Leo. If we could take some of our guys from off the street and put them in like legitimate businesses, you're talking about some of the most brilliant businessmen that were ever out there. If they just didn't know that there was different products or services to do. Yeah. But so for those who don't know, at the height of Leo's career, I mean, he is, and no one has surpassed him so far in the space of publishing. But in the height of that, everything was called to a halt. He just received the letter one day
from my biggest distributor.
The biggest distributor, which is Amazon.
It was Amazon.
And Amazon, if you guys know anything about Kindle, it was the platform that everybody used.
Still is.
It still is the platform everybody uses to get their ebooks, and they shut down Leo Sullivan Publishing.
Yes, ma'am.
And that meant all of the subsequent folks. So you had a whole lot of people who didn't know what was going to do. So again, as we mentioned, Leo gave a lot of people opportunities that would not have had them otherwise. So there was a lot of panic and people didn't know where their next check was coming from.
Oh, it was devastating.
What they were going to do, and Leo had to answer to thousands of
Yes,
people,
it was
right?
a lot of people.
And so that's when you really see the mark of a leader, because having to stand in the most difficult time of your life.
Turbulent. That probably was like the most. One of
Did
the
you
most,
sleep at night? How did you handle that?
It was devastating. I mean, to be honest about that, because they really didn't have a good excuse for shutting me down, other than just saying that they suspected some suspicious activity with my books, and so.
Do you think it was because you were a black man making a whole lot of money on their platform?
You know what? I said that once before, and I was so attacked because of that, because it's politically incorrect for us to say sometimes that maybe the system may be corrupt, or maybe the system may be racist or prejudiced. But I don't want to revisit that, but I will say I find it awfully ironic, by me having the biggest publishing company in the United States and them never coming back and actually telling me what my violation was, because everybody else, as anybody knows, if you making millions of dollars and they say you did something illegal, then they're going to prosecute you. And there's a whole lot of documentation of Amazon always efficiently and effectively prosecuting people for stealing thousands of dollars, much less millions of dollars that my company accumulated. So that I feel that way, but I want to cry wolf. I don't want to cry. I don't want sympathy.
Real leaders and real winners don't sit in and point fingers at other people.
I'm not going to wallow in that.
What we do is figure out what could we have done differently.
That's right.
Grow from it and get back up. So how long did you stay down from that, though, Leo? I mean, I know that had to really get you, man.
Wow. So let me see. So we had that, and then we went through this very, very, very tumultuous period that I think a lot of us kind of like forget about or don't want to remember, and that was the COVID.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so that was that was like the most devastating thing in my life. Just that the two combination of things, and then I went through an unexpected divorce.
Right, and that was didn't know if you was going to mention that.
Oh no, I thought you was going.
Well, the reason why I would say that, guys, is because Leo also married a very popular publishing owner as well, and when they got married, it was sort of like the Jay-Z and Beyonce of the publishing world. Her name was Portia Sterling. She is extremely beautiful, and very smart. And Leo and Portia were married, and the whole publishing world went crazy. It was just like the couple to keep your eyes on. And I know that during that time, the business kind of deteriorated, and at the same time, COVID. Because guess what? If the business had not deteriorated during COVID, you probably would have made your most money during COVID, right? Because everybody would have been reading and da-da-da. But so during that time, so you lost your business, COVID came and it causes mental stress of everything else. And then you go through an unexpected divorce.
Yeah. So I think the divorce was it happened.
So you didn't see it coming?
Nah. We had 2 small children. And so that was it was something for me to deal with, like really, really deal with it. And I'm not a public person, so my private life is private. So you're the first person I ever talked about this with, to anybody. But it was a really dark period. Even though in public I was ratified, put the face up, and just still
you have to
post
do that.
And stuff like that.
But you were hurt.
I was really, 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 really. I'm talking about
really hurt. Like, and you probably felt alone.
Yeah, I did, and because the only thing I'm an introvert, and so you don't realize how much you're an introvert until devastation happens, and then also friends who I thought were dear to me there were some issues. There were some issues with people taking sides, but it's okay if you take sides, but you shouldn't have a narrative to go with that. This against,
And just stay out of it.
Just
Stay out of it. I believe that if
Don't
that
have a
person
narrative,
hasn't wronged you, stay out of it.
Yeah. So,
stay neutral.
and these are people who like are dear to me, like my best friend. You know what I'm talking about? Like my best friend, my closest associate. And there's this narrative and stuff like that, and just people who just, it's like you say, just stay out of it.
Just stay out of it. Just stay out of it.
And so everything becomes very toxic. And I remember one day I started to see a psychiatrist, and I was like, man, I'm having problems with my chest and stuff like that. And he called me and he was like, Leo, you have post-traumatic stress. And I was like, I have too much stuff. I have too many business. I have too much stuff going. I can't. Black men don't have post-traumatic stress. He's like, Leo, you are suffering from post-traumatic stress.
Can you imagine not, though? You've been through hell, Leo.
But I wasn't.
You weren't processing it.
Yeah, I just know I couldn't sleep at all. I was having a lot of nightmares. And then sometimes I'll think about certain things, and I'll have these sharp pains in my chest. Like really, like the pains you don't want to have. And that's when it was brought to my attention, the reason I was suffering from post-traumatic stress. And I was like, and I had to go research. I was like, what the hell is like, we don't have post-traumatic stress. And so, I mean, it is what it is. Things happen, but I'm a fun believer, and I'll take this to my grave with me. The truth always comes to the light. If you're a thief, if you're dishonest, if you're a rogue, if you're not sincere, if your passion is not in the right place, it's going to show.
So they accused you of,
stealing
the money,
and doing something wrong with the company.
You getting the money, you're not paying them. People were sending letters in, my kids didn't have Christmas because of you.
Yeah. I was a firestorm, but I'm not. I wanted to say this: I don't harbor any intimacy, any
animosity
towards them. I don't harbor any ill feelings because I get it. And a lot of times things that like people like, well, I'm going out my contract. And I think that became problematic because if I gave you $30,000, or if I gave you even $5,000 and you said you went out your contract.
Where my money coming from?
Right. And so.
You think it's just that people don't understand business?
For the sake of me not getting attacked, I'm not going to respond to that.
Okay.
So, because one thing about, certain cultures or certain backgrounds, it becomes emotional. And once it becomes emotional, you have to distance yourself from that. Whenever you have an argument or a conversation with someone and it gets volatile, if they're not logical, if they're being emotional, like my kids in my house and you can't do it.
But how did you handle it?
I tried to do the best I could.
But from you guys were the blog tabloids. Like, how did you just not read them?
No, I saw it. I saw people like my.
Was it painful?
It was. Well, I think the personal shots like Al is not. I have Al since he was 3. I raised
your stepson.
My stepson. So I love him like my that's my son. And so people were digging up stuff saying that's not even his real son. And he raising him.
Well, that's a good thing, though, right?
I thought it was, and so that kind of hit home, or bringing up my mom, or saying stuff about his mom, and my mom was passed away, or just authors who weren't even signed to me because it was the end thing. If you write a post and say Leo stole all my money and he got my books, you're not even signed. You never got a check from. Like, I don't even know you.
And if that was the case, something would have stuck, right? There would have been some type of lawsuit or somebody who would have stuck somewhere.
Right. And it never happened, but I get it. And it was in 2019. I get it. And a lot of publishers benefited from that because right now, some of the publishers who always wanted to be like me, as part of their sale pitch to adopt new authors, they bring my name up.
Okay. So
authors contact me, like, you know what? Guess what he did? He told me that you stole his money, and and I was like, so I keep hearing it so much from other new people coming in the industry. It's interesting that it's still
it's still going out there, a sales pitch. But as you know, the head person, the top of the game, you are going to be the target. That's what a lot of people don't really understand about this thing. everybody wants to be that mammoth, the goat.
Right.
But when they get to be the GOAT, most people can't handle that. They don't
It's
understand.
big shoes.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's big shoes.
To be targeted, to be ridiculed.
It was people who actually dedicated their lives. Like, it was people like with 24/7 just writing stuff, making pages, Instagram. Remember that? Like on Instagram, so one person had dedicated a whole Instagram page to just some malicious attacks.
Yep.
And I get it, because this is what's happening, and a lot of people don't realize this. Social media is euphoric. It's an extreme addiction. It's so much
my goodness,
it's so much so that generations from now are gonna look at us and it's like, what if we don't stop this what's happening to our children and adults tearing up their brains with this incitable addiction for likes and attention and stuff like that, then we're gonna be in a bad space.
I think they're gonna reference this period as like the Stone Age.
The Stone Age.
Yeah, it's like our brains.
It's just the biggest euphoric high that you get. And so if you writing about you, don't sign with her because she's not the best. And then if they get a lot of likes, then they have to revisit that. And what was bothering me was people would blatantly attack me and then be in my inbox.
And then you have to. Do you call them out? Do you call them out
No,
on
I
it?
never. No,
Or you just let it go.
I didn't give them what they were asking for because your ass was acting up, and so now you're trying to buddy with me. But you should have thought about that before you
went out there online and said something.
And you said you just attacked me and my family, and my children, and now you sending me emails. I was wondering, and I just wouldn't respond to it. I wanted to say, I wanted to be a little vindictive, a little nasty.
But you can't.
I can't.
This is the thing. I used to always ask this, Leo, and I'm sure people say this to you too. Why do I have to always turn the other cheek? Why do I have to be the bigger person all the time? But that comes with the role.
Yeah, that comes.
And you get tired of always feeling like you're the punching bag or that you have to take the abuse. But it kind of comes with the role, right? Right,
because a lot of times people are just jockeying for your attention, and a boss can't respond to a peon because a lot of times the peon, and I say this nicely, but their main objective is just to pique you and try to get your attention. You know what I'm talking about? And I can't
get you to go off.
Right, and I can't respond to you because it has no relevance, and two, it's a complete waste of time because there's not enough hours in a day for me and you.
It's not. It's
Every
not the
day
time.
We're like, dang, I didn't get this done.
Listen, have you ever seen that Instagram video? Diddy, I was listening to it this morning. Diddy was going off. He was like, "Don't call me if you're calling to talk about somebody. If you ain't talking about making no money."
Right, and I was serious.
He said, "If you want to know what I'm doing, I'm working. What you doing?"
Right.
I was like, that is one of my favorite videos.
Man, it's true because people do that. They call you. Or people just invent stuff just to try to get your attention. You know what I'm talking about? And it may be on a petty scale, but to them it's huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but
Especially
it's
if you
huge
respond.
because you ain't got nothing else going on. And you looking at, because me personally, I'm going to tell you, I ignore. Once I'm at a point like this. Once I know you're not for me,
you just keep
I don't go back and forth with you. You are now out of my stratosphere. I unfollow you or I block you. If somebody come to me wanting to tell me what this, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Don't show me nothing. I ain't trying to be involved because that takes you off of your game.
This is paramount. It's very paramount. It's very important that people understand. Just like you protect your house, just like you protect your bank account, just like you protect all your passwords, you have to protect your brain from being exposed to negative energy and influences because one little small thing can ruin your whole day. You know what I'm talking about?
Your week.
Your week. Yeah, it could just like and so we have to take those measures to protect our sanity and just like we protect everything else that's dear to us.
You have to. You know what I do too, Leo? Like some people will send you these long emails and it could be very abusive. I have trained my brain that once I start reading an email and it starts going and
I've
it
been
automatically
doing that,
turns
yeah.
off,
That's
and I
not-
want so people you wait. I'm telling you now, if you sending me, you wasting your time because I'm not going to
I'm
read
not
it.
gonna read it.
I'm not reading it. Soon as I start seeing the language going to click, because I can't allow that to get into my
Right.
in my spectrum. I can't
Right.
do it. So I know we got things going on. I know you got to get out of here, but what's next for you, Leo?
I'm looking at a comeback in terms of my publishing, so but just in another genre.
That's your passion.
That's my passion. Yeah, I should be releasing a book this year as well.
Is it going to be in the urban? You're not doing urban anymore, right? So
Oh yeah, it'll be.
Okay.
I'm gonna because I write what I know.
Okay.
What I'm comfortable in. I
Okay.
don't want to try to portray something that I'm not. But it's just how you put it out, where you put it at. You know what
and I
I'm
know
saying?
you just did several films too, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to announce I just did a project with Columbus Short and Erica Peoples. I just did another project with an up-and-coming guy by the name of Jesus Christ, forgive me for this. His name is Jeff Logan. He's on Beat the Cross.
And you just had another movie with someone else as a veteran. It's a
Cliff.
Yes.
Clifton Powell.
Yes, I saw that. I was
So,
like, "Go, Leo!"
Yeah, so I have 3 films that I finished that'll be coming out this year that I finished. 3 projects that I finished. I'm also excited that, and I hate to say things that are politically incorrect, but I reached out to some of our people to work with them and got some of the shenanigans. You know what I'm saying? And I reached out to our white counterparts, and they were very receptive and very professional. And that's not to put us down or nothing like that, but it tends to make you wonder, like, how much do we still suffer from the psychosis from slavery? Do we still have this crab in the bucket mentality?
The post-traumatic, because maybe it was they didn't feel like our projects would be as because it's black.
I don't know.
that?
It could be. I know the white folks, they was like,
Because
the red
this is
carpet
the
for
thing.
me.
Well, you know why? Because the white folks know too that right now, black genre movies are making a major comeback. Like Tubi has a whole section. They realized that was a area that was being ignored.
Right.
African American independent artists. Filmmakers, and from that, people are being able to really get their projects out there, and they're making a ton of money. Did you see Tubi's commercial on Super Bowl?
No, I missed it.
Oh my God, it was like the best commercial for. I was like, go Tubi. I listen. Anybody that is willing to support people like you and I,
right.
they give us opportunities.
Yeah.
We don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay anywhere, but I'll never forget the people who gave me my first opportunity.
Me too, and that's why I mentioned Vicky Stringer. I was incarcerated, even though we had our differences when I came home.
But you know that she changed your life.
She changed my life. Yeah.
And let me tell you something: a true winner will always pay homage, no matter what happened to the relationship.
Oh yeah.
You have to pay
I
homage to the person that changed your life.
Yeah, yes I do.
Yeah. So I know you're a single father.
Yeah,
You take that very seriously.
That's the love of my life. Listen to me. No disrespect to anybody, but nothing and no one's gonna take the place of me spending time with my boys.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, it's gonna take a hell of a woman.
Well, you really shouldn't be with a woman that wants to take the place of your children. They should find a place to be alongside your children.
Yeah.
But anybody who wants to come in and remove your place with your boys is not the woman for you.
Yeah, and I'm dating someone right now. She's not. There's a great relationship.
Good.
And so
that's always important, Leo.
Yeah,
Leo, I'm going.
Yeah.
Your boys, because I love seeing the relationship you have with your boys.
Oh man, it's like, you know, at their age at 5, they're just so pure. They just want daddy. I just want to hang out.
And
not about
King
no
looked
money.
just like you. Oh my gosh, just like you.
Yeah, that's my little man. Here's my personality too.
Yeah, he was. I remember you and Portia used to tell me he used to be at daycare beating up the other kids and stuff. So there was another Leo, right?
He calmed down. He's kind of calmed down now, though. So.
But I appreciate you coming in here,
so
spending time with us. I'm hoping that somebody out there learned, because the reality of this is it's showing that no matter what you go through, no matter how many times you've been knocked out, if you got that fire in you, it's going to come out.
Don't give up.
Keep going.
If it's sincere and it's your passion, I think people need to stop blaming other people for their shortcomings and stuff like that, and just stand up and do what you got to do. And most important, man, just seek refuge in prayer. And I'm not even a religious guy, but I know prayer works.
You know that there was a higher power that got you through everything you went through.
Even
that.
every day, you know, just gotta find that space and just have a conversation with God and just be humble.
That's right.
And that's where you're blessed. Karma is real, but karma's tricky.
It is.
Because whatever you put out there, man,
it's coming back. It don't skip.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
And so you just watch if someone has betrayed you or someone. And sometimes people take a little longer than others for it to come back. Even the good deeds we do. You know, but if you persevere and just be righteous by God.
And you know what? That's why I never really worry about the betrayal. Right. Because I have yet to see anyone to betray me that has not have swift repercussions. I'm saying swift. And I don't have to do anything. And I don't sit back and revel in that, because that's not what you're supposed to do.
You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to do that. You're still supposed to pray and wish them well, but you're not coming back over here now. Right. We're not dealing no more. But I don't worry about that. I don't take things. I let God do my work. Yep.
And I'm the same way. I just like the betrayal and stuff like that. I just try not to foster any animosity or any hatred towards that, and just keep moving. And I want to reiterate this. I really feel like what's in your heart, if you're true, if it's passionate, it's going to show. And if you're corrupt and if you're, illegal and you have malicious intent, then it's not only going to show up, but you'll become a victim of your own identity.
It's going to come. It's going to swallow you up.
And time will tell. So I tell everybody, just be patient, man.
Just watch. But telling people that is a waste of time. Telling them to be patient.
Yeah.
But
thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much, Leo. And I want to tell you guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Coinology.
Deuces.
See you later.
You ain't getting no money if you constantly worried about what everybody else got to say. If you constantly got your eyes on what everybody else doing, you ain't getting no money. When it comes down to closing a deal, I get it done.